I cannot believe what I just witnessed.
Down on the glass. Last shot of the first quarter. It's in. Buddy Hield. Curry. Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield for three.
Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler. Three of the greatest playoff performers in NBA history. Three of the greatest players in NBA history in Game 7 on the road. It was none of those guys who delivered the best performance in this Game 7. It was Buddy Hield.
Great job by everybody on the team except Buddy. Is Buddy included tonight? 33 points.
I played the fifth.
When Buddy Hield hit this three-pointer at the end of the first quarter, I thought to myself, that's a huge shot and a huge quarter from Buddy. He had done his job. All you ask for from role players is to have moments and quarters in the playoffs. This was more than a moment from Buddy Hield. This was an out-of-body experience that might have Houston Rockets fans calling helplines for, well, you guys can figure out the rest, because after an up and down series for Buddy, in which he had some good performances and some not so great performances, 33 points and 9 three-pointers. Let me say that again. 9 three-pointers, an NBA record in a Game 7, and 3 more three-pointers than every single player on the Rockets combined. He scored as many points as Fred VanVleet, Jalen Green, and Dillon Brooks combined. And you know what? Forget about calling Buddy Alfred or Robin. Tonight we can call Buddy Hield Batman, because this was a Game 7 for the ages. Like I said, when Buddy hit that shot at the end of the first quarter, I thought that was the Buddy Hield moment, but it kept going and going and going, and the second quarter was special. He started things off by ghosting this screen, and with both defenders staying attached to Jimmy, he finds Buddy, and watch him put the ball on the floor and the step back midi. Is that Jimmy Butler, or is that Buddy Hield? Well, it's definitely Buddy Hield, because as great as Jimmy is, what he did next, Jimmy just can't replicate, with Jimmy collapsing the defense again, and Buddy is great at relocating to that open space, providing a target and a knockdown shot. 6 minutes later, and look at the score, 39-31. That gives you an idea of how low scoring and how important all of these buckets were, in particular in the first half. And this time, there's some help from Steph, who is being guarded by Brooks. Brooks is focused on communicating the switch that he completely forgets to actually guard the hottest guy on the floor and leaves him wide open for three. And that's the Steph Curry effect. This time, all it took was him just moving off the ball enough for Dillon Brooks to lose sight of the one guy that you shouldn't have lost sight of in the first half of that game. And as much as we all love Steph, and he delivered again, particularly in the second half, this was Buddy's night. 20 seconds after that shot, Steph brings the ball up the floor. And do you think the Rockets recognize you need to get up and contest his shot? I mean, Jimmy Butler has even told the world that Buddy shouldn't be dribbling.
And Buddy, stop trying to dribble the ball. I hate that.
So maybe make him dribble instead of just letting him drill threes in your face. And 40 seconds later, again, Jimmy is collapsing the defense, and again, Buddy takes advantage of an aggressive closeout, sidestepping into a three. And you see one common theme with all of these plays. As great as Buddy was, and I'm not taking anything away from him, this is the difference when a role player is allowed to play alongside two superstars. You saw Steph off the ball, you saw Jimmy Butler on the ball, collapsing the defense, drawing help and attention away from even the hottest shooter on the floor, because the defense is so petrified and worried about what those guys can do. And that's why you've seen guys like Brandon Pajemski, Buddy Hield, Moses Moody, Quentin Post, all of these guys step up their game since the addition of Jimmy Butler. Because having Steph Curry in himself is absolutely game-changing, but when you pair him with another guy who can warp the defense, well, you start to see things like this. And that is not to take away from Buddy Hield, because the shooting was absolutely special. And in the span of a half, he had recorded 22 points on 8 of 9 shooting. And he wasn't done there, because with the game still in the balance in the fourth quarter, he stepped up and knocked down another big 3 before just adding the icing on the cake. I don't know about you guys, but I'll remember where I was when Buddy Hield turned into the greatest player of all time, and I'm going to turn into the greatest shooter of all time on the same floor as Steph Curry and Fred VanVleet, who apparently had been the greatest shooter of all time for the last 3 games before that. But I will certainly remember when Buddy Hield had 9 threes in a Game 7 on the road to close out the Houston Rockets. This was a complete performance from the Dubs. These are the kind of performances that you need in a Game 7 on the road, particularly after the 2 games the Warriors had previously. And I know people like to make a huge deal of 3-1 leads and what happens when a team loses 2 games after going up 3-1, but sometimes it just happens. This is not excusing the Warriors, who didn't come with the right energy, the right effort in those 2 games and got hit, but the Rockets were the 2nd seed in the Western Conference. They won 52 games. I can't say I'm shocked that they won 2 games in a row. And whilst Game 6 was a very disappointing loss, just to put things into perspective, during the regular season, the Rockets shot 35% from 3. They were the 21st ranked shooting team in the NBA, lower than the Golden State Warriors. From games 2 to 6, they shot 41% from 3, outshooting the Warriors by 7%. And don't even get me started on Fred VanVleet. This is what playoff series are about. You have guys that will consistently deliver like Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond, and everyone else will have games that can make or break the series. Luckily, Buddy was the guy who did that in Game 7. Now, it wasn't just Buddy. This was a complete performance from the Dubs. As I said, after a slow start from Steph and Jimmy, they took over in the second half, which was always to be expected. I know some people were panicking about Steph after the first half, and I know he's not 100%, but there's never a need to panic about Stephen Curry. If he's on that basketball court, he's the most dangerous man on that basketball court, and we saw that in the fourth quarter. We even saw it before the fourth quarter, where even before he started scoring, like I showed you with that Buddy Hield play, or countless other plays where the Rockets were blitzing him and doubling him and forcing the ball out of his hands, creating wide open looks for other players. It's why Steph Curry will always make such a huge impact whenever he's on the floor. And you also know whenever he is on the floor, at some point in time, he's going to get hot. And that's what happened in the fourth quarter. After getting a few really difficult layups and a 3, Steph did what Steph does with the dagger.
Took one away, couple of steals. This is where the daggers come out too. Stephen Curry.
And I feel like him and Jimmy had pretty mirroring games where both of them weren't at their best and both of them aren't 100%, but you just saw the impact and why you need both of them on the floor as much as possible because of the playmaking, the timely shot making, the effort and timing on defense, which both of them brought. Jimmy Butler always brings it. Steph Curry doesn't get the credit, but he tried and he worked on defense. Alongside Buddy, in general, this was a great defensive performance. And you can't talk about the defense without talking about Draymond Green. You can see the box score, and that's what a lot of people will mention from this Draymond game, and how he scored in double digits. And it's always great when he scores and is aggressive, but this was a defensive masterclass from a guy who has proven all series long that he was deserving of that DPOY. He was just absolutely everywhere, forcing Şengün into tough shot after tough shot, getting into his body, rotating at the right time as he always does, messing up the passing lanes, just doing absolutely everything. Look at this play, for example, where Green gets the handoff from Şengün, and with his speed, you'd think he'd be able to get past Dre and to the rim, but this is why Dre is so special. He has the ability to guard Şengün in the post, but then switch on handoffs like this and block Green at the rim. And it's just his ability to pop up in the right place at the right time every time. Like here, where he slides over to force Green into passing, and the moment he does, he turns back to Adams and immediately swipes down. Just genius hands, genius movement, and genius timing. Or how about here where this is just Draymond being Draymond? Watch as Jimmy is guarding Şengün. And look at Draymond here. He knows Amen Thompson is near him, and he knows Amen Thompson is a target for Şengün in the dunker spot. He baits Şengün like he's going to help over on Adams, and then immediately rotates back to Amen to break up the pass. This is what Draymond Green does. This is what he did all series long, and it's what he's going to do against Rudy Gobert with the motivation of a lifetime in a series that should be won for the ages. Jimmy Butler versus Minnesota, Draymond Green versus Rudy Gobert, Anthony Edwards versus Steph Curry. Oh my god, this is going to be special. And if you want to hear me continue to talk about that going forward, consider subscribing, dropping a like on the video would be cool. Most importantly, have a great day.